Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and with me is my lovely and talented co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to our listeners to our little cozy hideaway.
I like it. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are funny, interesting, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Well, let's get right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew.
Oh, what are you enjoying today?
Strawberry lemonade.
Strawberry lemonade. Refreshing. After some heartbreaks from last week, let's get into something that's new.
Yeah, Valentine's was hard.
It was very sad, wasn't it? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my husband for using a room in the house for my work from home job?
Okay.
I, female 32, began working from home 2 months ago. My husband bought the house we live in before we got together. He calls it his property, which is fine by me. The house is small, has only 2 rooms, one of which used to be empty till I started using it as an office for my work-at-home job. All was going fine with my job till he sat me down last night saying he's expecting 30% profit from whatever I get from my job since he provides the office for my work. I was completely caught off guard by this. I asked if he was serious, and he went on about it being his home and how he could be using this room for his own purpose since it's his property. I said no and called him unreasonable, which led to a blow-up. I yelled at him saying he won't get a penny, and he pitched a fit and accused me of taking full advantage, even though there's no mortgage to be paid. I do all the chores in the house as well as pay half the bills. He got his family involved in this, and they're split. His mom thinks I'm being difficult, and that 30% is not a huge amount, and that this room is providing stability for my work from home, and so my husband should get some sort of benefit. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down and refusing to pay a penny?
Great story to start with. I do need some clarification on this. How long have they been married? 2 years? Is that what it said?
It actually doesn't say how long they've been married together.
That's weird. I thought I heard 2.
Yeah, 2. She's been working from home for 2 months.
Okay, maybe that's where I got my 2 from.
And they only have 2 rooms.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like and they're married.
They're married,
okay.
Yes.
It kind of sounds like she's found herself a Scrooge. So I'm quite shocked to hear like you demand 30% of your wife's paycheck because she's working from home. She already is doing all the chores, is what she said?
And so she does all the chores and pays half the bills.
She's working and she does the chores. Guy, you already got it lucky. Like, why are you trying to screw up a good thing? She's at home. She's working from home, which means she's home a lot. So you get to enjoy that too, right?
Correct.
Like, so this is a good story. She's definitely not the a-hole in my opinion, and it's because they're married. I don't understand. Now,
I guess marriage works differently for a lot of people.
No, and that's true. Some people do like penny pitch to an extreme and charge each other and keep separate accounts, and you can keep the relationship you want.
Well, let me tell you what Reddit's verdict is. They say she is not the a-hole.
Okay.
And she's not the a-hole because you're right. They are married. This is conjoined. She pays half the bills.
That's true.
She does all the chores. In fact, one commenter said, well, if he wants to go ahead and take 30% profit from what you work for working from home for that room, go ahead and charge him for the chores that you do around the house and offset the costs.
Sure, that's funny, but that would lead to like a terrible relationship. I mean, it already sounds like there's some iffy stuff.
The fact that he says this is my property, my house, it sounds like he's dividing lines as if they're not truly together.
You get married, you should probably start thinking about things as yours.
Our home.
Like it's ours. We're building this together. But I also understand everyone has a right to their own relationships, and if that's what she's cool with, I guess start charging him for chores.
I don't know. Maybe Reddit will make her open her eyes to a toxic
Ooh,
relationship.
Shysta.
All right. On to our next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my roommate to keep her cat in her bedroom?
Okay.
I, 24 female, live with my girlfriend, 25 female,
Okay.
and a roommate, 23 female. We share a 2-bedroom apartment and have lived together for 2 years now. Up until now, we've gone along pretty well. My roommate has an elderly cat. The cat is honestly kind of mean. She doesn't like me or my girlfriend and will run away if we try to pet her or pick her up. So we just avoid each other. My roommate asked if we had cats prior to moving in because she said her cat doesn't like other cats. We did not have any pets at the time, so it worked out. We did tell her that we might want one someday, to which she said we would have to revisit the issue if it came up. Well, my girlfriend and I have gotten to a place where we really want a pet of our own. We saw a kitten at the shelter and just fell in love with him. We got the okay from our landlord and brought him home last week. His name is Banana Pudding.
Banana pudding.
Our roommate is furious with us. She told us that we were aware that her cat doesn't like other cats. I told her honestly that it's unfair for us to have to tiptoe around her cat and that we were allowed to have our own pets as long as the landlord is okay with it, which he is. She couldn't expect us to never get a pet or to cater to her cat's needs 24/7. The conversation ended there. Unfortunately, things have escalated because her cat hisses and swats at Banana Pudding just for existing. She is honestly pretty aggressive, which is a big issue in my opinion. Our cat is very friendly and sweet and causes no problems. We asked our roommate that she keep her cat in her bedroom since she's elderly and aggressive. She refused and hasn't been speaking to us. She says we are huge a-holes and even got some mutual friends to take her side. I personally think that if her cat is so aggressive and uncomfortable, it's her responsibility to live alone. It's gotten so bad that my girlfriend is crying and considering taking the kitten back to the shelter. So here I am to get an outside perspective because I don't know what to think now. Am I the a-hole?
All right. So, clarification. The roommate, the OP and the girlfriend, right? They lived at this apartment. Or sorry, yeah, it was an apartment, right?
Yes, it's an
They
apartment.
live in this apartment together, and then they invited the new roommate.
Correct.
So they were there before the roommate.
Correct. And all 3 of them live together for 2 years now.
Okay. So how long did they say how long the OP and the girlfriend had been living together prior to the roommate moving in?
No.
Okay. I guess that wouldn't really matter anyway. So the roommate moves in, has a cat already,
Mm-hmm.
and tells them that her cat's terrible around other cats.
Correct.
All right, and they agree to it.
Yes.
But they also preference it before she moves in that they may want to get a cat in the future at some point.
Correct. And the roommate says, hey, if you do, let's just revisit this later.
We'll come back to the table.
Correct.
And then when they were... Did they tell her before they got the cat?
I don't think they did.
Okay, see. So there was no coming to the table first.
Nope.
All right. So that's where I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I guess I'm going to have to say on this one that the OP is the a-hole, and that's the reason why, is that there was no coming to the table beforehand. It was, hey, I'm showing up with my cat. Hopefully your cat will deal with this.
Well, all of Reddit agrees.
Oh,
The
yeah.
poster is the a-hole, and we have some updates.
Oh, shoogie doogie.
So, poster says, edit update. So I am definitely the a-hole. The comments have really helped me to understand that my roommate's cat is just acting, well, like a cat. I am willing to admit I was ignorant and impulsive. I have never had a pet before and should have done more research before jumping into pet ownership. I plan to sincerely apologize to my roommate. She is willing to talk once she gets home from work. I am going to see if she's willing to try a proper introduction for both kitties. And Banana Pudding will be staying in our room for the duration while her kitty will be able to roam. I am hopeful that things will work out, and I want to thank everyone for being blunt and educating me. I was impulsive and inconsiderate, But my roommate is a great person, and I think she will forgive us and will be trying to make it work.
Hey.
Edit update number 2.
Oh.
Roommate and I have talked. I apologized to her for being selfish, ignorant, and for putting her cat in an uncomfortable situation. She forgave me and said she'd be happy to help do a proper introduction between the kitties. She said that if we do things slowly and carefully, her cat might be able to accept banana pudding. For now, our kitten will be staying in our room for the introduction process. She also taught me a little bit about cat body language, and guys, her cat came and sat in my lap. She even purred. My roommate is a very kind and forgiving person, and I'm very grateful and thankful that she chose to forgive me after I was such a huge a-hole to her. She played with banana pudding and gave me some cat food recommendations. I think things are going to work out. Thanks everyone for your advice and criticism.
Hey, that's fantastic. What a good update.
Reddit, the good guy.
Yeah. Good guy Reddit. Yeah, it's a good way to end that one.
So we delved through some roommate drama.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see about some family wedding drama.
Oh, weddings. Love that.
Am I the a-hole for telling my soon-to-be sister-in-law that I didn't actually want to be in her wedding?
Truth hurts.
My brother is getting married in May. My brother and I aren't super close and haven't been for a long time. I moved to another state over 13 years ago.
Okay.
He has never been here, met my husband or any of that. I just occasionally see him when I visit my grandma. I have met his fiancée a few times, and she's fine, but we are just very different people with very different lives and priorities. She's great for my brother. He's happy. I'm happy for them. She is very high maintenance and is all about her dream wedding and being the princess. It's all she talks about and has been since they got engaged. She knew he was going to propose, so she got her hair and makeup done and hired a cameraman for the surprise proposal, and was like 4 of the pictures framed in her living room of her looking surprised.
All right.
Anyways, she excitedly asked me to be a bridesmaid, and while weddings are really, really not my thing, literally got married in the kitchen by some lady we found on the internet 2 days prior. I said yes because it seemed important to her, and I figured it would mean a lot to my brother. So I put on my helpful hat and jumped into the group chats and whatnot. The group chats never stop. Like, ever. I am expected to fly down for dress shopping and other important bridesmaid duties, including rehearsing a flash mod dance, FML. Anyways, I got pregnant. And after everyone found out, sister-in-law called me and told me the bridesmaid dresses she wanted to use for the wedding were going to be very form-fitting, and I probably wouldn't be comfortable being pregnant and all. And basically let me know I was no longer needed for the wedding party. But great news! I can still help with all the bridesmaids' duties. Now, here is where I may be the a-hole. As she was going on about how I would still be an honorary bridesmaid and I could still help with planning and the showers and the bachelorette party and all that, I cut her off. I was in a bad mood. She's pregnant. I mean,
Sure.
You never know how mood swings are then. And said, look, honestly, I really didn't want to have to be in the wedding in the first place, so I'm actually relieved I don't have to deal with it anymore. Apparently, that upset her and made her cry, which led to an angry call from my brother, who was saying if I don't apologize to her, I am not invited to the wedding. I am considering not apologizing and not having to travel to be at the wedding at this point. So, am I the a-hole?
Oh, boy. Family wedding drama is always...
It's prevalent.
Steeped in it.
I'm guessing it's just because everybody's so high-strung on emotions and money and events.
There's just such a weird expectation across the board. It's so varying. I'm coming to understand from Reddit. All right. So, a little bit of clarification. How far along is she? How long has she been pregnant for, I guess?
I mean, there's no way to truly know. She doesn't say, But generally, you have to at least be 2 months pregnant before like you really can know or feel the signs.
Is it not safe to like fly being pregnant? I thought that was a
I
thing. I could be completely wrong. I don't
I
know.
believe you're correct. It's not good after a certain period of time, but
Okay.
I guess it depends. She could go by car to
Well,
do the wedding.
I guess irregardless, I guess my thing would be to expect her to still put up with all the duties that a bridesmaid, again through Reddit, I've come to understand
It's a lot.
what bridesmaids have to do for a wedding is probably almost as bad as what the actual bride has to do for the wedding, in my perspective anyway. um, to expect her to put up with all of the responsibilities but then get none of the like fun out of it, not being a part of anything. She can't obviously drink or partake in any of the partying that happens.
Can't do the flash mod dance.
You know, like, I don't know, to still expect someone to burden that, especially when they're not very close. You've given someone a lot of responsibilities who already admittedly is saying that she's not close to the brother, right? They're siblings, they love each other, but 13 years, they don't, it's not that close. So, you know, I guess she would not be, I would not consider the poster to be the a-hole. I just think that she's in a circumstance that maybe it could have been handled a little bit better on her end, but for the most part, I think that, I mean, if she doesn't like weddings and she doesn't want to be, she's not particularly close to the brother, then this is kind of like a win-win for her. Don't apologize.
Then you don't need to come. Yes. All of Reddit also agrees she's not the a-hole.
Okay.
They say a lot was packed onto her from the get-go. I mean, the way that she explains it, she does seem very high maintenance and that she has a lot of expectations for her wedding. That's probably turning her into a bridezilla. But the fact that if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to do it. That's the freedom of being a bridesmaid.
Yeah. You don't owe anyone anything.
But it sounds like she tried to be supportive. She tried. She was going to just...
I mean, she's going to have to fly down to do things. So she's already spending a bunch of money before the wedding, right? That's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I kind of find it funny when she's all like, you probably won't be able to fit in these form-fitting dresses since you'll be pregnant and all.
But still do everything.
But can you please make sure that you're there for the bachelorette party? Can you pick up all of our trash once the parties are done?
Still be a part of doing everything.
Yeah, no.
Just don't
we're
participate
good.
in any of the fun.
We're good.
Yeah, okay.
But I 100% understand where her frustrations would be. She's trying to be a good sister.
Don't apologize.
Just don't. Honestly, and just so that a lot of people are aware, the first trimester of any woman being pregnant is the highest when it comes to miscarriages. So for her to not get stressed out in this moment is extremely important.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hopefully she listens to Reddit and they give her some good advice.
So, on to our next story. This one's a bit of an educational piece.
Oh?
Am I the a-hole for deferring an issue with a female Muslim student to a female colleague?
Okay.
I, 36 male, and my wife moved to our area 7 years ago for my wife to pursue a job opportunity where the population happened to be exclusively white. In the last couple years or so, we've had an increase in the non-white population, including the first Muslim students I've had since before moving here. I grew up in an ethnically diverse area, so not being surrounded by multicultural people in restaurants has been an adjustment. I teach high school science, and my 2 Muslim students are cousins. I'll call Amira and Nadia fake names. I'm not well versed in religion, since my area of expertise is sciences, but I'd like to think I have some basic knowledge of major religions. Today, Amir was out sick, so it was just Nadia in my class. The kids were working on a worksheet while I was trying to get grading wrapped up and submitted. And when I looked up, I realized Nadia's head covering had shifted and hair on her forehead was exposed. I panicked and looked away as soon as I realized. I would have asked Amira to take Nadia into the office between my classroom and my female colleagues next door to fix it, but without Amira there, I ended up ducking into my colleague's classroom and disrupting her class. I waited until she acknowledged my presence and then waved her over to speak to her quietly, to ask her to please bring Nadia into the office to fix her head covering, and I would keep an eye on her class. My colleague, Mrs. Smith, asked why I couldn't do it, and I said, because I'm an unrelated man. She made a weird face at me, but eventually said fine, and went to go get Nadia. When she came back, she was not at all polite when she said, it's fixed. I thanked her and tried to brush off her attitude and asked Nadia to stay back a moment after class, just long enough to apologize if I embarrassed her. She said it was fine and left. I got home at 3:30, but at 6 p.m. I got a call from the principal, Mrs. Waters, outside of working hours telling me that Mrs. Smith had complained about my unprofessional conduct regarding Nadia and that I am expected to attend a meeting on Monday with her, Mrs. Smith, Nadia, and her parents to discuss what should be done about my actions. I asked what I had done wrong. She refused to elaborate beyond unprofessional conduct. I told her I expected my in-building union representative to be present at the meeting, or I would not go, and she said she would email our building rep. I feel ambushed. I don't even know what I did wrong, and I'm not going to lie. I'm really upset and anxious right now. Am I the a-hole?
Wow. It kind of just sounds like, okay, so for clarification, the poster is male.
The poster is male.
I think he says he did not want to help her with the hair because he was an unrelated male.
Correct.
And I'm guessing according
to Muslim
the religion,
religion, only related males can see hair, which is why they have the hijab.
Okay. So he went across the way and talked to his colleague to help her put the child's hair back in the headdress.
Correct.
I guess I'm not understanding the upsetness or the unprofessionalism because it sounded like he was trying to adhere to her religion.
Correct.
So he was being
trying
understanding
to respect
of it. He wasn't being rude to the child, and I don't think he was being rude to the teacher, his colleague. So I'm sorry that you got to go through that. I hope that it gets cleared up, but you're definitely not the a-hole for having gone over to ask for help to make sure you're being respectful towards the girl's religion.
A good person.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one. I don't know why. I hope. Is there an update?
There is not an update. Oh. But let me go ahead and let you know what Reddit thinks. Okay. Reddit says he's not the a-hole. Okay. In fact, he's being extremely considerate.
Sure.
A lot of people do take that extremely seriously. Somebody in the comments says they personally wouldn't have mind if you just let them know, just let them go to the office and they'll fix it themselves. But the fact that he went out of his way to, one, make sure that he wasn't doing anything that was inappropriate, which for them would be looking at her.
Sure,
with her.
He said he immediately looked away, right?
Correct.
So
and then he went to go get help from a female colleague because he didn't want to overstep his boundaries, because if he would have let her know that her hair was messed up, then it would have been him admitting that he would have been looking at her.
That makes sense.
So everybody on there is saying he was great, that he just went ahead and tried to do the right thing.
Sure.
They think that the other teacher is being unprofessional and is being very callous and trying to make it an attack on him as a male for doing something.
Like, how dare you interrupt me in my school teaching time? That's really weird. My time is so important. I think we found Mrs. What's her face from Matilda?
Oh, I forget what her name is.
Trunchbull.
Mrs. Trunchbull.
Mrs. Trunchbull.
Well, let's go ahead and leave Mrs. Trunchbull's area. And let us go to another roommate problem.
Oh, all right, roommates.
Would I be the a-hole if I asked my roommates to move out of my apartment rather than myself?
Let's hear the spicy.
The apartment complex I live in is extremely convenient. It's close to stores and restaurants and directly across the street from several transit stops, which makes my commute to work pretty easy. I just get on a train and I'm there. The rent isn't horrible. It's a 2-bedroom and I pay $18.50 in a large city. The view is also pretty incredible. I've lived in this apartment for 4 years now with my roommate, Mark. We both signed together. I think you know where this is going. Mark got a girlfriend, and they want to move in together, which I said I was fine with, and they want to be alone. They asked if I would move out at the end of the lease. Both Mark and his girlfriend work within walking distance of the building, but my work is across the river, about a 10-minute ride. I'm fairly certain I can find a place closer to my work, but I honestly do not want to move out. It wouldn't be in as nice of an area, definitely not as close to shops, and definitely not as good of a deal. I'm honestly fine with Mark and his girlfriend living here, but they don't want me to live with them anymore. Would I be the a-hole if I said that if they want to live alone, they need to move?
Whew. Well.
Any clarification, Timstradamus?
So no, because he leads it off by, he explains the situation perfectly. He goes, we moved in at the same time. So that's where I was like, okay, I'm listening to it. And then as soon as he says, I'm like, oh no, you're even now. Because see, had one person been there before the other, then there's kind of like, hey, you got here last. You go first.
Correct.
But that's not the situation. Ooh, you found a good one. This is a donut.
It is.
If fairness is a part of it, darn. This one's a good one. Yeah, you and your story picking.
Le excelente.
Yeah.
Magnifique.
Yeah. So it sounds like he's really close to work. This is a comfortable area for him. It's convenient for him, but it's also even more so convenient for them. Right? He says 10 minutes, they're 2 minutes. It really doesn't matter. Under 25 minutes, I think most people would kill for that as being a commute time.
Oh, hands down.
So they're both, it works out for both, well, 3 parties, technically. It's 2, but I gonna lean towards him not being the a-hole. And I think it's because it was not him that found a partner. It's his roommate that did. They're starting their life off. They should be the ones that leave whatever they had. He came into it single. If he found someone, that's not his roommate's problem. Well, the OP's problem in this situation, it would be his.
All of Reddit agrees.
Oh, thank goodness.
He is not the a-hole.
Thank you, Reddit.
And they say exactly what you said. He wasn't the one to change what happened. It was the roommate that did.
Sure.
He changed their living arrangements, and to basically change the living arrangement and say, well, we want to be alone, you leave, is not right.
No.
It doesn't matter how convenient it is for one or the other. At this point, it's the party that changes those living arrangements that needs to move out. You got it spot on.
You almost got me there.
I almost did. I was close. On to our next juicy story. We're going back to weddings, my friend.
Back to weddings.
Am I the a-hole for dropping out as my brother's best man a couple days before his wedding? My 36 brother, 30, got married this past weekend. I was supposed to be his best man. The wedding was 12 plus because they didn't want to deal with toddlers and such, which is fair enough. A lot of guests do have young kids, though, so they decided to have a venue nearby with a professional sitter if parents wanted to drop kids off there. My wife has some injuries that make her slow to respond / understand what others are saying, and she needs help sometimes with her food. I'll cut it up into small pieces. This doesn't mean she's nothing, and she's a smart, capable woman. They had a rehearsal dinner at the end. My sister-in-law pulled me aside, saying she had to discuss something with me. She said they told us about the additional venue they'll be having for their wedding. I said yes. Then she asked if my wife had any particular food preferences, and they would order extra food for her there. I was extremely confused, and I told her we already gave our meal choices, but she said my wife would be better suited at the second venue. I remember just short of staring at her for a bit and asking if she was serious, that she expected my wife to be with the babysitter. Sister-in-law said it's not like that, and they're just looking out for my wife, and I don't have to feed her or anything and can have fun at the wedding. My brother came over, and I told him I've literally never heard of such crap, that they think my wife is a child to be left with a sitter. Brother said it's for the best, and if I want, I can always go over and check on her. I told him if this is the way they're treating my wife, I have no desire to be part of their crap show, and dropped out as best man. Well, all hell broke loose, and some people agreed I was right, but my parents texted, called, everything, saying that they don't agree with this either, but it's their choice, and to get over my ego and come, I didn't end up going. I did hear they got one of the groomsmen to give a speech, and overall it was fine, but my brother sent me a text saying he expected better from me. I replied back saying I expected better from him. My sister-in-law sent me a long text saying that I ruined their big day on purpose and made them look bad. Am I the a-hole?
Wow. Wow wow. All right. Well, you don't really need any clarification on this one. This is pretty cut and clear. I'm very sorry for the OP and how his family treated his wife. I don't understand what it would have mattered having her be there with them. She's not a problem, right? Like, they're treating her as if she's
a nuisance?
Yeah, like, that's a really weird situation.
I mean, he admitted she's a bit slow.
Sure, but
due to an injury. He's got to cut some stuff up for her. I mean, I don't think that's a big problem at a wedding.
No, what would that matter? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You would expect to see that, to see a loving couple.
You know, yes. What? This one reeks of brainworms. I'm sorry, that's I don't get it. He's definitely not the a-hole. Good for you for sticking by your wife, and it sounds like doing the right thing. I'm sorry that your family has a problem with her and her disabilities, but I think you did the right thing. Stick by your morals. Shame on your parents for taking that side. That makes no sense, because see, I feel like if they had put their foot down, maybe some of this doesn't get as out of control as it does. Maybe a little more perspective on everyone's side, but you love her. Good for you for standing by her.
Well, all of Reddit agrees he's not the a-hole. In fact, the OP actually posted a response in the comments that I thought that I would read because I really like what it said, which is because the commenter said something about their parents' reaction being unbelievable. He says, I mean, my parents didn't agree with this, but they said to put it aside for one day, and the wedding wasn't the place to make a stand, then yell at them later if I wanted. A couple of others also said this, which is why I'm doubting it if I went too far, not just attending and then telling them later. The last thing I wanted to do was miss my own brother's wedding, but I just feel like they're the ones that put me in this position. My wife always comes first.
As it should be. That is your partner.
Yep, that is the one person that they have your heart. You sleep next to them every day.
Yep.
I think it's sad they were put in a position. I don't think it's making a stand if you drop out of the wedding just because they can't respect who you're with.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. No.
I think they should have, and the future husband and wife, I guess now that are husband and wife, should have taken into consideration that their brother loves his wife and would not budge on this. So we went from one wedding drama to another. So we're going to end it on this last story with wedding.
Oh, another one, huh?
Another one.
Going heavy on the weddings today.
I guess it's just that season. For our last story, Am I the a-hole for uninviting my dad to my wedding because he refuses to pay anything towards it unless it's vegan?
Okay.
I am 30. Since I was a child, he has always said he would pay for my wedding. About 5 years ago, he started a relationship with a lady with extreme views. She is a vegan, which is fine, but she is very judgmental to how I live. She doesn't agree with cancer scans like smear tests, mammograms, etc., because vegans don't get cancer. When I had my daughter, she said I should be feeding her almond milk. Very incorrect, everyone. That's not very healthy for a growing baby. She once came to my house for dinner, and I cooked a chicken for me and my family and a nut roast for my father and her. She later dug a hole in my garden to give the chicken bones a proper burial because she was so heartbroken to see us eating its blood and flesh. I wish I was joking. She has also accused me of trying to steal her father's house. Her father's house. Not the OP's father. It would be the mother-in-law's father's house.
Okay.
I figured I would clarify that because I was confused. I have never met her father. I have never set foot in her father's house. All I know is he died recently. I had communicated some cost of living worries to my dad, not asking for money, and she ran with it and said I was trying to manipulate her into giving me her inheritance. I do not want her inheritance. Long story short, my father will only pay for my wedding if it's vegan. This not only includes food, but shoes, alcohol, what other people wear, example, leather, and anything else you can think of. I might have been okay with vegan food, but I'm not okay with policing what others wear or food they may bring for their babies, even formula. This has me upset. It's not really about the money. We are having a very small and cheap to do anyway. In the run-up to the wedding, this woman has also been extremely rude to my mother. On reflection, I have now decided it's best all around that they do not attend. She's now telling my dad's side of the family that it's just about the money and that I am bitter because I didn't get her dad's house. Why on earth would I be given her dad's house? And that my dad isn't paying for my wedding. But to be honest, it's not really about the money. I don't want to be controlled over what I can and can't do on my wedding day. I'm sick of her judgment and this. Now she's gotten her claws into him. And I just think it will be better for me, my siblings, and my mother if they do not come. I also don't want to be lectured over milk, dairy, honey, palm oil, you name it, on my wedding day. And I don't want to put my guests through it either. Am I the a-hole?
No, you are not the a-hole. This is the easiest one you've given me today. So, no, she has the right to have her wedding the way she wants to. It's her and her husband day. They can do what they want. They can invite who they want. But I understand why it's best to just leave it alone, because it sounds like this woman is very she already says it, she's very judgmental. Like, just on that, most people don't like people who are just going to walk around judging every single thing they do all the time. You're allowed to be vegan. You're allowed to live a life the way you want to. But it's when people start trying to force their values and how they live onto you or others around you when it becomes the problem. And it's really funny because those are the people that don't understand that everyone else, if they're being tolerant of you, you need to be tolerant of them, right? But they don't see it that way. For a lot of the time, it's like you either believe and look at it the way they do, or they dislike you a lot.
Or they find a reason to villainize you.
Yeah, so that's where you're like, if you're giving them that courtesy, they need to give it to you back.
I think it's a bit extreme that she took the chicken bones to bury it in the back, and not even like to take it home and then bury it in her own yard. She buried it in their backyard.
Could you imagine just like after dinner, someone's in your backyard just
Putting a hole in your garden.
"It's for you, chicken," like something like that. I don't.
I think there are a lot of extreme views to vegan and vegetarian, and this post made a lot of people speak out on that.
Okay.
A lot of vegans and vegetarians are like, we made these choices. Like, there's this one post I will read out loud. I am a vegan and 100% agree with you. I would never behave like this because my choices are just that, my choices. I'd never force my views on others because it's about autonomy. But let's be real. At this point, this woman's behavior is less about her commitment to veganism and more about control, superiority, and attention seeking.
Yep.
She needs therapy.
Yep. That's kind of what I was trying to allude to, is like some of these people that run in these circles, they're not okay with living their life the way they want. They want you to conform to their life. And if you don't, you're going to hear about it.
A lot of people were shocked because they said, as a person who looks to live with the world, she should have taken those chicken bones and ground them up. You can make something with it to make the life of that animal be more than just a meal. Apparently there's a bunch of ways you can ground it up and make it into like a meal so that you can garden, and it would actually make your garden flourish more. Weird facts. Did not know this until Reddit. Thank you, Reddit.
Oh Lord, that's an extreme. Yeah, they're right. She's extreme, and good for you for choosing to have your day be your day. Well, as our story comes to a close, remember, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We will be regularly posting on Tuesdays and Fridays.
And remember, if you post, maybe we'll see it on the internet.